Awesome. Well, thank you for joining everyone today. I'm sure a few more people will be kind of getting settled in here in the next few minutes. So welcome to today's program, which is the third and final of a series called Diversifying Your Markets with Institutional Sales. My name is Caitlin Porter. I'm a value chain coordinator at the New Hampshire Food Alliance, and I help to coordinate both the New Hampshire Food Hub Network as well as the New England Food Hub and Processors Network, which you'll hear a little bit more about later on. While we're all getting settled, feel free to let us know who's joined us today by popping in your name, pronouns, affiliation in the chat so we can know who's here. Today's program is in partnership with a number of organizations. So the New Hampshire Food Alliance, as well as the New Hampshire Farm to School. Stacy is here today with us from New Hampshire Farm to School, the National Center for Appropriate Technology, or NCAT, as well as NOFA New Hampshire's TOP program. And Teresa has joined us today. We'll be talking about the TOP program, which is the transition to organic partnership program, in just a minute. So you see, today is the last of 3 in a series, but because of this partnership with NOFA New Hampshire's TOP program, it is actually a sponsored partnership. You'll notice that we've kind of woven in a bit of a theme of organic throughout today's session, although the majority of the content will be applicable to non-certified organic growers as well. Let's see. So just going to briefly go over the agenda. Our time together today is 4 to 5:15. So hopefully you all are able to join us for the next 75 minutes. Again, in just a minute, I'll be handing things over to Teresa Downey of the NOFA New Hampshire's TOP program to provide us with an interview. I'll be going over the Strengthening Organic Enforcement Act and maybe answer any questions, help demystify that act a little bit. And the SOE, we wanted to take a few minutes to talk about that as it kind of ties in together both this theme of organic as well as the main topic of discussion today, which is selling through food hubs and how the SOE has somewhat impacted food hubs in New Hampshire. Lastly, we're hoping to leave lots of time to talk to 3 farmers who have joined us today. So I'll introduce them at the beginning of our farm panel in just a little bit. But for now, I'll hand things over to Teresa.
Hi, well, welcome everybody. I am Teresa Downey from NOFA, New Hampshire. I am the TOP coordinator. It's short for the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. And we are part of a 14-state region of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. There are 6 of these types of regions throughout the U.S. So the TOP program spans the entire United States. And we offer a program through the USDA and a national organic program that is a farmer-to-farmer mentorship program. We also offer technical assistance for farmers who might not need a mentor, but still need some technical assistance with any aspect of organic, whether it's just through transitioning or actually certifying. So that is a little bit about the program. It is a year program for anybody who would like to sign up. If you're thinking of transferring to or transitioning to organic, you can sign up for the program. It is free for farmers to sign up for, and you will be matched with a mentor. If you want to be matched with a mentor, you can just be technical assistance, and then you will have a mentor assigned to you for about 40 hours for that week, for that year. And there's training involved. Mentees can get a stipend and to go to different programs with your mentor. If there's, like joining during a winter conference, or if UNH is having a program and you want to attend it, to all different kinds of things, regional things, you can get a stipend for that. Your mentor, by the way, is a certified organic farmer with at least 3 years experience in organic certification. You're usually matched with a scope of what you're doing, whether if your crops or your livestock or processing, you can be matched with a mentor to help you along with that. And then Your mentor's paid, which is fabulous because they're a farmer too, and they're using their time and they're paid through the top program. So it's a great way. They learn a lot. I've been talking with mentors and mentees, and they're all learning some great stuff and helping one another. And this is also building an organic network in New Hampshire, which is really exciting. We have 20 matched mentee mentor pairs right now in the program, and we're just starting the second year of this 5-year program. And we have 14 mentors. Some of these mentors have more than one mentee, which is exciting. They're really gung-ho. It's really great to work with them. Everybody has been very positive in this program, and I'm going to post a little bit of information in the chat. So you can do some more reading about the program. Our NOFA website is there, and then the national website, organictransition.org, is there. So yeah, and if anybody has any questions, if there's time to do that, or you can email me at teresa@nofanh.org. I'm happy to help and answer questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Teresa. And yeah, feel free if questions come up at any point today, feel free to pop them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll make sure to get to them. With that, we will transition over to the Strengthening Organic Enforcement Act and just spend, again, just a few minutes kind of provides some high level overview of what it is for folks who have heard about it or not. This is something that was made effective on March 20th last year, 2023, and the implementation date was March 19th, so just a couple weeks ago, 2024. And basically this act amends the USDA organic regulations to strengthen oversight enforcement of the production, handling, and sale of organic agricultural products. The amendment is to protect the integrity in the organic supply chain and to build consumer and industry trust and the USDA organic label through strengthening organic control systems, improving farm to market traceability, and providing robust enforcement of the USDA organic regulations. So essentially what this all means is that the organic label was, as I'm sure a lot of you know this as farmers and or consumers, the organic label was starting to lose a bit of its integrity due to some abuse of the organic label. And we're not talking from, small scale organic farmers. We're not talking about food hubs or anything really on the regional scale. Some of the abuse was happening at big corporate level with fraudulent labels happening on non-organic products. So this new act is coming to strengthen the oversight, and by and large, for the average American consumer, it's a positive thing, right? When you're buying organic, there'll be an extra level of oversight to ensure that when you buy an organic product, it really is organic. This also means, on the other end of that coin, it also means that entities that were following the rules and responsibly handling the label all along now have to take on sort of this extra lift of the labor and expenses that are associated with certification. So a little bit of a double-edged sword, but overall for the American consumer, it is moving in a positive direction. So the word that kind of this whole act is centered around is this idea of handling organic product. And so I just want to highlight that for a moment. And the USDA, while handling is a very broad term, the USDA has gone ahead and defined that as coming physical contact with agricultural products, such as combining, aggregating, culling, conditioning, treating, packing, containerizing, repackaging, labeling, storing, receiving, or loading certified organic product. And by using all of those words, they're basically making it very hard to become exempt from this rule. They're basically saying that if you touch or come in contact at all with organic product, you now have to become a certified organic entity. Um, and I don't say this to scare farmers at all. By and large, if you are an organic certified farm, you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. You're going to keep being certified. You already know the system. You're maybe a part of the top program. If you're transitioning to organic, there's resources out there to be paired with a mentor. So by and large, from my perspective at least, this rule doesn't do a whole lot to impact farmers. What it has done is that it's impacted a lot of the intermediaries, which is our topic today of food hubs. So they are, the middlemen, taking it from the farm to the end producer, whether it's a wholesale buyer or direct to consumer retail outlet. Because they are coming in contact with an organic product, now they have to become certified. So the really amazing thing that's happened over the last 6 months or so is a partnership with NOFA New Hampshire has helped to identify this need for New Hampshire's food hubs to become certified. They acted super quickly to identify this need, and they have adapted the top mentorship program to accept food hubs into their program. So I'm excited to say that 4 out of the 4 food hubs in New Hampshire that have identified the need to become certified have been accepted into the top program. They all have been paired successfully with other food hub-like entities for a mentorship program, and they are all on track to become certified entities. So that's a really exciting outcome and a really big success story, I think, from our partnership. So I just wanted to highlight that today. But again, just want to reiterate, I don't think there's a very large impact to certified organic farms. Just know that if you are selling through a food hub, if it's not already a requirement, it definitely will be a requirement that you share your certification paperwork with your food hub so they have it on file. I just wanted to also share, we can either make the slide deck available or the links and resources available to you after. Just wanted to compile some of the key resources that are coming out of the SOE Act for farms and or entities to sort through to basically be able to evaluate whether they need to be certified organic or not. So we can make those available to you all. And next, I just want to transition to kind of our main discussion, which is selling through food hubs in New Hampshire and also New England at large, because I know that we might have some farms and some service providers calling in today from other New England states. So why talk about food hubs in a webinar series titled Diversifying Your Markets with Institutional Sales? And simply put, food hubs can help farms access markets that they otherwise couldn't on their own or wouldn't want to on their own. And so I like to provide the USDA definition of what a food hub is to help create a box that it can live in. So a food hub is a centrally located facility with a business management structure facilitating the aggregation, storage, processing, distribution, and or marketing of locally or regionally produced food products. Again, USDA likes really broad, vague definitions. So as you can see, it can take many different shapes and forms, which is why I like to use this visual to help kind of start visualizing what food hubs do. And I think this breaks it down and at least gives us a good image for what one type of food hub can look like. So on the left, you'll see a number of different types of producers, vegetable, fruit, orchards, meat, poultry, dairy, you name it. Folks on the land producing food are then connected and selling through a food hub. It could look like the farm dropping their product off at a food hub. It could look like one of the distribution trucks heading out to the farm for a pickup. And the food hub as depicted here really is kind of this more distribution warehouse-based food hub that has, large walk-in coolers and freezers and dry storage space and loading docks and trucks and all of the um, all of the kind of dry things that drive our food system without us really knowing about it a lot of the time. They often have, online storefronts where chefs and wholesale buyers and even consumers are logging in to an account and ordering on a weekly basis. The food hub is then aggregating all of these sales that are happening, and sending the farms what has been ordered from them so that they're only picking and harvesting the things that are already have a home and have made a sale. The food hub then acts as this aggregation location and often will do this distribution on behalf of the farm. Again, this is just one model. So along with the long list in the definition, food hubs also often take the form of retail businesses, which we'll get into in a little bit. And so in that sense, this hub, this intermediary is a brick and mortar retail location where the consumers can come in and then have access to diverse farm product. Again, kind of providing that marketing, that storage space, and oftentimes processing on the farmer's behalf. So I'll go through some benefits to food hubs, and then get into some of the more like kind of logistical, drier things that food hubs might ask of or require from farms. And then we'll move into kind of the more exciting farm panel and hear from farms who are actively selling into a food hub. So I'm obviously biased. I think there's a large list of benefits for food producers and farmers to be working with food hubs, but there's also good reasons why sometimes it might not work out for your bottom line. So I think the main takeaway here is that the best case scenario is that working with food hubs will save farmers both time and money resources. Again, there are reasons why sometimes partnering with food hub might not make the most sense. There's a lot of parts to your bottom line that I think when we take the information that we learned from Jesse last week in the last session of this webinar series, really dialing in your numbers and knowing your bottom line, that's when these decisions about when it makes sense to partner with food hubs start to become really clear. So some examples of how partnering with a food hub can save you time is that, as I mentioned before, oftentimes they're dealing with the sales. They're managing an online platform, and you hopefully will just get one email during the week. It says everything that has sold. It's already been accounted for, so that you get to go out into your fields and harvest things that you know that have already been sold. Then you might be taking everything that's been sold into and delivering it to the food hub, maybe just once, maybe twice a week. Again, allowing you to access multiple wholesale or direct-to-consumer outlets with just one drop-off, instead of you having to invest in, food safe transportation, the time and labor it takes to make multiple stops for just one or two cases each. You get to just drop off a bigger delivery and let the food hub handle it from there. Your time is saved by letting the food hub market your product for you. They're investing in the online platform that you get to post your product on. And I think best of all for a lot of farmers means that you don't have to be tracking down payments or invoices. It's a lot of phone calls that, you just get to do more of what you love, spend more time in your fields, let someone else deal with all the nitty gritty numbers, and you essentially then receive a check as you would a paycheck, whether it's every other week or once a month, but on a regular basis, you get paid from the food hub. And ways it can save you money is just a lot of labor costs. Like I said, food safe transportation or storage, the marketing costs that's associated with labor. They are making cold calls on your behalf sometimes, selling product, making sure that their online um, store is attractive and diverse. And again, the labor cost savings of the software and invoicing and accounting. You also have access to, a lot of the time, you might have access to their refrigeration or freezer. Once your product is in their hands, they are keeping it in a food safe means. They also are investing in expensive, permits and licenses. Often when you're moving food across state lines or moving meat or dairy, there's a lot of these extra hoops that you have to jump through. Again, if they're doing the handling of that product, that's all something that they have to worry about that you might not have to. Oftentimes, food hubs are really mission oriented, and a lot of the times they're nonprofits too, so that they are hosting trainings for their food producers. They're providing resources. They often have access to grants that can help with technical assistance, things like that. And lastly, their software often can benefit you because at the end of the year or month, you might be able to analyze your sales and, okay, in 2023, I sold this much broccoli, and can help you with your crop planning for your for the next season. Next, I'll get into some of the drier topics that food hubs might require of their food producers. Just it's good information. I apologize about all the words on the screen, but again, if we end up sharing this information with you all, I just wanted to make sure it was all in one place. And this is really not a, cut and dry requirement list. Every food hub is going to have their own list, and once you kind of start a partnership with them, they will have their own checklists and things like that. But by and large, a lot of food hubs are going to ask for some sort of food safety plan and or recall plan. Again, this is going to be a little different if you're dealing with a distribution-based food hub. Their requirements are going to be much higher on food safety end than if you work with a retail food hub that is selling directly to consumers. There's a lot less requirements for that. They can also require, often this isn't the case in New Hampshire, but it is becoming more of a thing. If you're a larger scale farm and you are hoping to access some of these larger wholesale accounts that food hubs are gaining into institutions, there may someday be a requirement to get a third-party audit for your food safety practices. Again, not saying any of this to scare any of you away, just saying what could be to come. Proof of insurance is definitely a requirement. Typically, the minimum coverage that they need to see proof of is the $1 million, $2 million coverage amount, and you'll have to have the food hub listed as an additional insured. The food hubs will be looking for a consistent product and fairly high quality so that they can really get buyers excited about coming back each week and having a reliable product to buy. Oftentimes they'll want new packaging, if not newer packaging, oftentimes professional wax boxes and or clamshells, whatever's appropriate for the product you're selling, that is labeled. And again, every food hub is going to have kind of its own maybe requirements for what makes its way onto a label. And another part of this whole, getting ready, whether this is your first time kind of entering a wholesale market or not, it will be good to know and familiarize yourself with the wholesale standard case sizes that buyers are used to seeing. And this, again, this is all information that Food Hubs will kind of be able to walk you through if you're brand new to selling through them. And lastly, sometimes there are Food Hubs that have you post your own product onto their website, and in which case, you might be providing some of your own marketing language for your farm. There might be a little, about you section, or you might also be responsible for uploading pictures of your own products. So those are just some examples of what might be required. And next, I just wanted to provide a visual of the food hubs that currently exist in New Hampshire and are coming together through the New Hampshire Food Hub Network. So these are the members of the New Hampshire Food Hub Network. And this is not to say that there aren't other entities across the state that are selling multiple products, multiple farms products, because that definition is so broad. It can apply to many, many different types of businesses, including even farm stands that diversify their product and are selling multiple farms products through a farm stand. So these food hubs are coming together through the Food Hub Network, and they do have a pretty diverse business structures. They, are in pretty diverse parts of the state, some very rural, some pretty urban. So like food hubs themselves are all different. Every food hub network is also very unique. And so we'll see and hear more from this farmer panel that they also have a pretty diverse represent diverse business structure, in that there's some that are just doing retail and mostly are nonprofits. They're providing educational programming for their communities. And there's others that are really pretty strictly wholesale distribution based food hubs. So we'll hear a little bit about the different models. And on the right here is the list of contact information that if you were interested in reaching out to any of these food hubs, their emails are all on that. So you can feel free at the end of this, if you're interested in building a relationship, to reach out to them. I did want to include some information as well on a New England wide scope as well, knowing that some of the folks logging in today might be from outside of New Hampshire. So I also coordinate the New England Food Hub and Processors Network, which is a fairly new, we launched last June, network coming together. And it's basically the same concept of food hubs and food processors that are interested in this kind of values aligned work coming together across New England to try to create some distribution efficiencies, potentially cross-stocking efficiencies, to trade product to make a more connected regional food system. As you see, I haven't disclosed any of the names, but you'll see that we are up to about 32 entities that are participating actively in that network, and they do span across all 6 New England states. So if you're interested, there is a link in that slide. You can learn more about that network and some of the work that we're up to there. And without further ado, I think we will transition into our farmer panel, unless I'll pause here for a minute and see if any questions have come up. Doesn't look like anything's in the chat, but maybe I'll just, yeah, it looks like Heather's raising your hand.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you could, I don't want you to spend a ton of time on it, but maybe give like 2 or 3 examples of if a food hub needs to get organic certification, what types of things might they be being asked to do?
The food hubs themselves. So they are now, they have to go through the certification process. So essentially, they're needing to, find an organic certifier, which I know is becoming more challenging in New Hampshire, and NOFA, New Hampshire, is doing a lot to address those. So they're having to get annual certification, which does not trickle down to their producers. It's not like just because they're a certified entity does not mean that all of their growers need to become certified. But they are going through like an inspection process, making sure that all of their handling practices are audited by a certifier. So that means that, when they're stacking boxes in their walk-in coolers or their trucks, they're having all certified organic products be on top of non-certified organic products so that there's no risk for contamination. I know that's one example. It's basically like a food safety plan in that you have to have language, you have to have a certification plan, or I think that's the word they use, where you basically describe the handling of certified product and all the steps that you take to ensure that it won't be cross-contaminated with non-certified organic product. Does that help answer that question?
It does. Thank you.
Great. There any other questions that popped up?
Can I just interject a little bit?
Yeah.
Something in there. For those who are not in New Hampshire and other states, in New England, all of the NOFAs, including MOFGA, are part of the top program. So you're able to reach out to them. If you can't get a hold of them, you're certainly welcome to reach out to me, and I can help you through that process, because usually retail establishments do not need to be certified through because of SOE. So there's a self-assessment that will help determine whether you need certification or not, and then go from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. Great. Well, I think with that, be sure to continue to, either raise your hand or pop questions into the chat if they pop up. And in the meantime, we will transition over to the farmer panel. So just want to introduce our farmers. Liz Wiley of Wild Fern Farm is joining us from Kingston, New Hampshire, and she has worked through Three River Farmers Alliance. Sue Green is joining us from Slopeside Farm in Lancaster, New Hampshire. She has worked with a Taproot Marketplace up in the North Country. And Jenny Wooster of Piccadilly Farm is calling in from Winchester, New Hampshire, and they have worked with Food Connects. So you see three different farms kind of representing three different areas of our state and representing three different of our food hubs, which is wonderful. They also happen to be, this wasn't pure chance, but they all happen to be organic growers, if I'm not mistaken. So we will dive into kind of a round of introductions. I'd love if maybe you each took a few minutes to introduce yourself and provide an overview of your farm and maybe a bit about the relationship you have with a food hub. Sue, do you want to kick us off?
Let me unmute here. Sure. My name is Sue Green with Slopeside Farm. Thank you for the introduction. I've been a certified organic vegetable, herb, and flower farmer this is going to be my 5th season, so still considered a beginning farmer. I primarily stay local. I'm not shipping anything anywhere. I would be considered a micro farm, I think, in terms of size. We cultivate roughly about 1/4 to 1/2 acre of annual flowers, vegetables, and herbs. And then we have a number of beds in perennial flowers, shrubs, and kind of borders for birds and bees. We tend to have our sales kind of divided into a CSA, our Taproot Marketplace retail sales, and then I do work with some wholesales over loose term because we're small, so it's, you know, pricing is relative, but with restaurants and with florists that are within, you know, about a 40-minute drive from where we are.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jenny, you want to kick us off?
Hi, my name is Jenny Worcester. I farm at Piccadilly Farm in Winchester, New Hampshire. We're in the very southwest corner of the state. I farm with my partner, Bruce, and about 12 employees, several year-round employees and seasonal employees as well. We have 71 certified organic acres right near the Connecticut River. And we've been here for about 20 years. And so I've been farming as an organic farmer for about 25 years. We've grown about up to 35 acres of vegetable crops. Now we're growing less than that, about 16 acres, almost completely for wholesale markets. We do sell about 5% on the farm in pop-up shops, but otherwise we're selling mostly direct to wholesalers through our own distribution routes. We sell in a circumference around the farm. We also sell about 6% of our produce to the Food Connects food hub. And we've been selling to them for a long time. We were part of the initiative to help get the food hub started somewhat peripherally. It started in 2 counties, in our county in New Hampshire and also in Windham County in Vermont, as 2 different entities that joined forces and now is located in Vermont. Food Connects is a nonprofit, a mission-driven nonprofit focused on farm to school and farm to institution sales. And they don't do any retail. So it's all aggregation and then resell through Food Connects. So we sold about $30,000 worth of produce through Food Connects in 2023.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Liz?
Hi, I'm Liz Willie, and I own and operate Wild Fern Farm. I'm also certified organic, as we've said. I lease land, and I'm going into my 4th season, and I'm very small. I've been farming on 1/3 of an acre, might go up to 3/4, but I've been selling through Three River Farmers Alliance since my first year in 2021. I previously worked for the 2 farms, the owners of the 2 farms that are also the owners of Three River Farmers Alliance. So I felt pretty confident in being able to just jump right in and start a relationship with them. And they were super receptive and welcoming. And it was a really great way for me to be able to really jump my business from the get-go. I was able to continue to work full-time off farm and could just dedicate all my time towards growing as opposed to also trying to figure out how to build markets. And so my first year I was selling 100% through them, and now I'm more at like around 35%, and I do more retail farmers markets and starting a CSA this year. And yeah, I think those are all the those are all the questions. Oh, and I'm mostly, as far as like that, the markets that I'm accessing, I'm mostly selling to restaurants and grocery stores for their wholesale program, but they also have a retail home delivery part of their business as well. And so I also sell through that. In 2021, I was able to sell to a couple different schools and food access organizations, but it seems like things have changed, and maybe with funding or something, but I haven't seen that in the past couple of years.
Gotcha. Great. I didn't know if maybe each of you want to just take a minute or so to explain how the sales work through the food hub that you work with. Is it an email that you get, or like how, just kind of take us through maybe the weekly schedule. Yeah, Sue, you want to jump in?
Sure. So when the season starts, because we don't necessarily do any kind of overwintered crops, we have a high tunnel, but it's not heated. We do have a winter tulip program that we've piloted, and so Taproot has been working with us for that. But to that point, I usually send a weekly email on Fridays with what I have to offer for the following week, and then they will get back to me with volumes and basic amounts of what they're looking for to restock. A lot of times it's really great that I have something, maybe a new product I'm trialing, and they don't want to fill their coolers with it, but they want to try, maybe doing about 5 or 6 just trial bags of, a certain type of herb or something like that. And that's one thing that's really nice about this Taproot, to be more specific, Taproot is, for their vendor program. They work specifically with vendors who are local. We come in and so we set our prices. And when and then Taproot will take a small shelving fee and kind of maintenance fee. So what they do to manage the product while they have it and handle it, as you said. And what we're doing then is we're allowed to basically say kind of what we can offer each week. And we try our best to kind of keep them stocked and have some diversity to what we're offering, which is really nice. Basically, that's what I do on a weekly basis. I communicate. That's one email. If they start to run out on something, they'll reach out to me, and if I can fulfill it that week, I'll do that. And if not, we'll put it on the next week's order.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I wanted to also add that the Taproot is primarily, like, from the community standpoint, most people know it as the marketplace that does the retail, but they behind the scenes do help with they're our major North Country gleaners. So we have any excess produce at the end of the week, we don't want it to go to waste. They'll pick it up, or if I can drop it off with my order, and then they distribute it to the outlets that need it in our communities. Because we are in Coos County, it is the poorest, has the most poverty in New Hampshire. So it's great that we can work with them to kind of make sure the food doesn't go to waste. And then, so all the retail sales are direct to consumer, with the exceptions that they do some small wholesale projects where they're trying to do farm to school pieces, or they're working with like a summer camp that's looking for vegetables. They'll reach out to farmers and see if there's anything we can do kind of on a wholesale basis to kind of help with those programs, which is really nice.
Awesome. Thank you for tying that all together.
Yeah.
Jenny, you want to go next?
So Food Connects, again, is a food hub that is primarily serving Cheshire County, New Hampshire, and Windham County, Vermont. They're located in Brattleboro. But over the years, they've expanded where they're drawing their producers from and where they're distributing. So the Pioneer Valley in Massachusetts has producers, and they distribute as far north as Burlington, over towards Nashua. So they've been increasing. And our connection, my farm's connection with them, has kind of grown as they've grown. So we've gone through a lot of different iterations with Food Connects in how they ask us to list our product and how they're doing labeling and things like that. And it's reached a really, really efficient level point now. So they have trucks running for pickups and deliveries 5 days a week. So pickups at our farm are twice a week. And so we update our inventory once a week, but it's always live. So if I have adjustments or changes, I can make those only on certain days. So I have to be somewhat careful once a week to only list what I know we can offer and have available the week ahead. And so then we get the orders twice a week, the day before, and they come with labels, which is great. So I do have to, as a certified organic grower, have to add an additional label that includes our certified information to go with their label. But the labels are helpful, and otherwise it's picked up at our farm, and things are generally very smooth as those things go. I will say that we do not have to be GAP certified yet for them, Good Agricultural Practices certified. Our farm is certified through a CAPS program. It's kind of GAP Light that's run through the University of Vermont. So I think that is helpful. And one thing I didn't say that in terms of our access to markets is that what our work with Food Connects does for us, because we run our own wholesale distribution route in a circle, but so we get a little bit of a wider circle of distribution. And we also really gain a lot of small sales. And that's really where it's been a win for us, where, I might sell, say, 20 cases. Today, Food Connects picked up 27 cases, but they were virtually all very small orders that I would not have had the capacity to deliver. My minimum order might be $300 for delivery. And so Food Connects will aggregate, a $75 order, 3 cases, 4 cases. And so that's been the real gain in terms of access to markets. And those markets know us still. So we gain access to markets, more sales that end up being retail sales labeled Piccadilly Farm to markets and places that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do our own distribution.
Great. Yeah, thank you for providing that example. And Liz, you want to go?
Yeah, so Three River Farmers Alliance is fully online, just a wholesale or food aggregation company. And so we as producers we post our products onto their online platform. It's through local food marketplace. And that happens on the online period for posting is on Thursdays. And we get to choose what crops, the quantity, and even the price. And then that site goes live on Friday and goes until Monday afternoon when it closes. And then right then at 3 p.m., we're emailed with all of our pick sheets so we can start packing even Monday afternoon, and then delivery is on Tuesday. And so we're responsible for packaging and the units that we've advertised the product as, and to bring it to the food hub in Fremont, which is close by to where I am. And it's the markup is a little bit different for the home delivery. Is definitely we historically have been able to get a little bit more for those products because we're individually bagging these retail packages, like I'm bagging every individual head of lettuce as opposed to a case of 24. And yeah, I think those are all I think they're definitely working on the pricing. Historically, for the home delivery, they marked up their price 27% or 30%. And so I knew, like, as a producer, what price I would want to set it at so that it could, on the customer end, it would be a real retail price. And for wholesale, it was more like 27%. And just within the past month or so, they're switching their model a little bit. So I think they're going to do more of that on their end, deciding how much a margin they have to take.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thanks for those overviews. Next, maybe we'll start, instead of having all three of you answer, maybe we'll have Sue and Liz answer this next question. What do you contribute as a couple of the key ingredients to building a successful relationship with a food hub? Sue, you want to go?
So I think just communication. I think we're very fortunate that, I'm a small producer. Taproot is something that's still, I think, kind of growing into the entity that they want to become. So they have room for these conversations for where they want to see themselves go. And I'm very lucky that I can just email the vendor coordinator and say, hey, how is such and such selling? Have you had any feedback about it or whatever? And then again, that communication kind of comes around. So it helps me gauge what kind of orders or what I should be putting in for seeding for the next round of produce that we're going in, or flowers or whatever. And that's been great. And then lastly, the other piece that's helpful is that every year, at least, it's been 4 years or so, I have sat down and said, okay, what is it that you guys need us to grow? What is it that people are asking for that within our region, within our capacity, can I potentially add to your program to make it a more well-rounded retail space? And so that's been great. And some things that we can help, and some things I'm like, well, I can't grow avocados, so I don't know what to do about that. But it is nice. It's nice to be able to have that feedback, and that's direct community feedback to really get it. Versus if I was at a farmer's market, you're having that one-on-one with a customer, and that's wonderful, but this is kind of more of an aggregate, consumer report from the community at large when they're getting that information. So that's really helpful.
That's awesome. Great, Liz.
Yeah. Also communication, something I've learned to really be able to look out into your field and project a couple of weeks in advance to let the food hub know, hey, I'm going to have this product. I'm going to have a lot of this product in 2 weeks. So can we, because they do social media marketing for us. So could you maybe give a little shout out to this type of head lettuce that I'm going to have a lot of? And then also to start trickling, you need to have consistent products week to week, because it might take a buyer a couple of weeks, especially restaurants, a couple of weeks to see that item before they decide, oh, I'm going to put it on my menu, or oh, I'm going to buy that from my grocery store. So yeah, just even if you only have a little bit of that product for your first week, just start getting it out there and getting the juices going. And yeah, I think just consistency with products throughout the season as much as possible, in quantity and obviously like the quality and the yeah, what size you're offering.
Awesome.
If I can just add one other thing that I
course.
found has been really helpful with Taproot, especially because they're serving a really large area geographically, the whole North Country there. One of the things that's nice is if they do have another vendor, so they have a number of breweries that will actually bring beer in that sells in the store, and a lot of them will do great food as part of their in-house brewery, brew pub style. But I'm not going to drive an hour just to do like a small cases of lettuce. Like, as you said, like it's kind of this, what Jenny said, it's not really worth my time per se, but I can coordinate with Taproot so that that brewer can order vegetables from me, and then Taproot will hold it for that brewer, and we'll do that nice little switch at the marketplace. So they've actually added a huge help in just that little bit of step and just coordinating those the smaller producers that just don't have the time or the means to make those orders add up. So that's been really a nice little thing too, that I'm not sure if all food hubs will do that, but it's been great that ours has.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that example of just like an extra way that a food hub is adding value for you all. Next, I think we'll have Jenny and Sue answer this question. Sorry, Sue, you're our one retail representative. Curious about some challenges of selling through a food hub. And maybe if there was one thing that you could change about selling through a food hub, what would it be? Jenny?
In my experience selling through Food Connects, I would note two things. One is our sales are not particularly consistent. If I look at what I sold in 2023 and 2022 and 2021, there may be some through lines that are similar, but you know, one year that I might sell a lot of bok choy, another year, you know, a bigger farm that has less expensive carrots might run out sooner, and so then I sell more. So I can anticipate a consistent or an ever increasing total dollar of sales, but I can't really anticipate what will get sold. So that's one. And then in the case of Food Connects, there are several much bigger farms than ours that generally list their certified organic produce at a lower price. So sometimes I feel some tension about the price that I'm going to list, and some temptation to lower my price slightly to be a little more competitive with other growers who are listing. Generally, I don't. Generally, I just keep my same wholesale price. And then sometimes they have things that just don't move on the food hub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, especially from my level, making sure that food hubs have the resources they need so that we're not making it a race to the bottom, right? We're making sure that it's a platform that has all ships rise rather than the opposite. That's a great point to bring up. And Sue.
I would say I totally agree with Jenny about the consistency. It's really because we're doing retail, it's the consumers. So, you know, September rolls around and everyone's like ready for pumpkins. I'm like, no, it's like beautiful time for like tomatoes, and your zucchini is still coming in, and you know, all these things for summer veggies, and the consumers are ready for fall. So it's sometimes just a little hard to gauge what's going to sell and what's not. And also then to the same point about what do we do about pricing? Sometimes it's easy to figure it out. And sometimes I just will call Taproot and be like, hey, what are people doing right now? Like, what do I do with my pricing if I don't have the time to sit down and do the math? That's been helpful. Coming from a farmer's market, my first season I did farmer's market, and having that every single transaction you had feedback, to all of a sudden you're just sending off your vegetables and hoping they sell. That was a bit of a transition at first, but you know, now we figured out a good communication source, and so it's been working really well.
Great. Awesome. And maybe we'll do one last go around for each of you. We have a few more minutes before we want to kind of open the floor up to see if any questions or if our audience has any questions for any of you. But just lastly, maybe you want to provide some ways that working with a food hub has directly impacted your farm. I know you've touched upon several examples already, but maybe you want to call something out in particular. You want to start, Jenny?
Sure. I think that working with, a local food hub with, it ends up being people who we know and people who we care about. And so I really like relationship-based selling. So even if the end buyer isn't someone I know, the intermediary is. And we've had some fun experiences in that some employees have gone from our farm to work for Food Connects over time. And so I really just appreciate selling, the opportunity to sell more to a broader market, but through the hub, the people who I'm still in relationship with.
Awesome. Liz, do you want to go next?
I'm probably just going to second that. Farming can be kind of isolating, especially in the beginning, in the middle of the season. And I just find it so important and lovely. Even just delivery day, I usually bump into a farmer who's also hot and tired, and just feeling like we're connected in a bigger farming community. I love when I get a call from the produce or the operations manager saying like, hey, do you have an extra case of this lettuce? Someone's lettuce who had it sold got it eaten by a deer or something. Just feeling like, yeah, I'm a bigger part of a community. And then also, yes, being able to sell to more outlets than I normally would be able to, because sometimes, yeah, my orders are quite small and I wouldn't be able to hop in a car and deliver a $12 case of parsley on my own. But yeah, I think we're all better in numbers. So yeah.
Great. Liz, Sue?
Yeah, I second all of that as well. Just making connections makes a huge difference. And especially early on, when I didn't even know how to set prices or what was regionally acceptable, I didn't want to undercut people. I didn't want to overcompete. It was really nice to kind of be able to work with a group of farmers within a hub to figure out what would be best for our consumers. And again, just like, as you said, just having those connections, having that feedback, it's really, really helpful.
Awesome. I'm scrambling to write some of these things down. Yeah, Jenny?
I think I'll add that that it's sometimes very nice to get feedback from the folks who are working at the food hub. Maybe your cases of zucchini should be graded a little bit smaller, or and I can more easily ask the food hub because the stakes aren't quite as high as a store that I'm selling to. I certainly have those kinds of relationships where I can get that feedback from the store, but it's been easier and nicer to get some of that from the food hub. I've certainly had help with the easy questions. What's a case size of cucumbers? What do you think about this? And so that kind of feedback from folks who don't have quite so much, importance in the end result as the buyers at the produce department of the actual stores has been really useful.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for adding that. Seems like our themes are it all boils down to community and relationships, which is a wonderful way to kind of wrap up the panel. And I just want to open up the floor now. Maybe I'll take you all off of Spotlight and see if we have any questions from the audience for our panelists, for about SOE, for Teresa, about the NOFA New Hampshire top program, anything that was covered today. Feel free to raise your hand or come off mute or put a question into the chat. Or if any of our farm panelists have questions for the audience too. Yeah, Jenny.
I have a few things about the strengthening organic enforcement.
Mhm.
And I think that I would say that part of that regulation did lead to the department closing their certification services. So that has definitely been an impact on certified organic farmers in the state.
Mhm.
And then I'm really sorry about that phone. So I'm going to mute myself for a few minutes until that passes.
Oh, it's okay. I couldn't even hear it.
Okay, if you can't hear it, I'll continue. I think the other thing that will become an issue for our farm with strengthening organic enforcement is the labeling of non-retail containers. And I think that's still to be sorted out, where a farm like ours that harvests organic product and stores it in our own coolers before sales, there's some thinking that we have to get all of that labeled. Yeah, at this point we label it when it goes out for sales, but we might have to have all of that labeled while it's in storage. And so that's something I think we're still sorting out, and other farms may still be sorting that out as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, thanks for raising that.
Yeah, Jenny, I'm with you. I mean, we don't even sell things regularly by the case. We're not that big. Most of our orders to our wholesalers might be a few crates, but it's, mixed together. It's a few pounds of kale. It's a, bunch of heads of lettuce. It's definitely a mixed, it's not a specific one product. So I have a lot of questions actually for my inspector, which will be new to me because I was with the department before. So that'll be interesting this year. So I have a list of questions to make sure that I'm doing things correctly, within what works for the regulation, but also what's going to work for our farm, that I'm not, I don't have a number of 2/3 empty crates just like taking up my walk-in cooler. It seems like a waste of space and time.
Yeah, any other questions from our audience? Was this information useful to you all? I'm also curious, breakdown. I know there's a number of service providers here that might be able to help distribute some of this information, and or if we have any farmers in the room, if they might use any of the information that we went over today. Great. I know it is top of the hour, so we will be losing some folks here. So if there's no other questions, yep, Heather.
Yeah, I think it was Jenny who said this, but maybe I'm wrong. That one of the challenges of working with a food hub is that they don't necessarily buy the same amount from year to year. So I can imagine it's hard for you to plan how much should I plant this year, because the food hub might not buy exactly the same amount. So how do you manage that? Do you have other places that you can sell the overage, or how do you manage around that?
In our case, our food hub sales are just a portion, in fact, less than 10% of our overall sales, which are all wholesale sales. So things do sort of come out in the wash. And I don't list as extensively with Food Connects, with the Food Hub, as I do with my own wholesale list. So I won't list with Food Connect, say, if I only have 4 cases of cilantro available. I'll only list the things with the Food Hub that I have enough volume that I wouldn't get stuck in an running out of inventory situation with the Food Hub. So I'm keeping an eye on the total dollars, and sometimes I list different things as well because my availability is different. So for our scale, it's a really good fit and works out well.
Great, thank you.
Great. And in some cases too, food hubs are, I always love bringing up the idea, the concept of forward contracting too, because I think it can help address this, is that more and more food hubs are starting to, realize that they can sit down with some of their buyers in the winter. And if they could get buying commitments up front from buyers, they might be able to come back to their producers with some real data of what they expect to sell in any given season. Again, that's a different model, and um, it doesn't always lend itself well with the back end, whether it be an online ordering platform. There is a lot of planning and logistics about that go into that, but it is something that food co-ops do a lot with their farmers, and more food hubs are starting to move in that direction to help kind of prevent that. I call it the kind of plant and pray phenomenon, where farmers don't necessarily know how much is going to be sold in any given season. Any other questions?
I
Liz?
have a question for Sue for Taproot. As a producer, are you selling your products on consignment? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And how do you like that model? Does it work for you?
I mean, there's risk, of course.
Yeah.
So you're just putting the best out there. I think that's also why, if we are going to introduce something new, we try to do it in small scale and see what the excitement is. And Taproot is pretty good about using their social media and being like, hey, look what just arrived, or, something that's fun. And all of a sudden, if it flies off the shelf, I know to produce more of it, or to harvest more of it. So that's helpful. We do lose a small percentage of what I bring in, that I don't sell. So I keep track of that, but it's very minimal in my mind. It's I think it's less than 10% of what the total that we bring in. So and again, because of the gleaning program, if it's something that can be gleaned, they will do that, which is great, because I'd rather it go to that than be wasted into compost.
And is that a nonprofit structure? Or
I want to say yes. And I believe they actually, I believe they are.
Taproot, yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, Allison, you have a question? Oh, you're on mute.
No, I'm just going to tag along at that comment. It was a good segue, and I coordinate the New Hampshire Gleans Network, and really am looking to connect with more farms that might be interested in participating. And a food hub, I guess, would be a great example. If there is surplus, we are always happy to come and take it and distribute it to food pantries, senior, any place that really struggles to get fresh local food. So I can put my contact in the chat. Please help spread the word. And we certainly recognize all the challenges that farmers ask and are not, looking for you to create. But if there is surplus and you're looking to have it go somewhere that it will be truly, used and appreciated, we are here to try to make that happen in as easy a way as it is possible for you. So I can put my email in the chat, and if anyone has any questions, please reach out or help spread the word. It is a nonprofit, and I can share more about, different groups working across the state. So depending on where you are.
Awesome. That'd be great, Allison. Thank you so much for chiming in. Awesome. Well, I think we're going to call it 5 minutes early. Buy back 5 minutes of this gorgeous bluebird day, and go enjoy some sunshine before we all get hit with some snow. Thank you all so much. Thank you to our farmer panelists joining us today. Thank you, Teresa and Stacy, for hosting this webinar at New Hampshire Farm to School. And with that, let's call it a day. Thanks so much all for joining.